Welcome to PeopleTools Tech Tips. I'm Randall Groncki. Let's have a common set of terms for insights in PeopleSoft. During a recent conference call, we had a babble of terms about PeopleSoft and insights objects. There were about 30 people on the call from all over the country, kicking off a project to create some very complex insights dashboards. Our primary obstacle were our own words. Widget, dashboard, widget. No, let's just stop. We wasted so much time trying to understand each other because there was no common terms. If we can all use a common set of terms, we can understand each other quicker, resulting in a better, faster solution. So let's define that common set of terms before we start our conversation. And yes, security is in here because security is always a part of any data conversation. Here is how this video is structured. Look for the timestamps below to go directly to any part. PeopleSoft terms, insights terms, PeopleSoft Navigation Security, PeopleSoft Row-Level Security, PeopleSoft Insights Relationship, and Insights Security. First off, whose terms? We're going to use Oracle and PeopleSoft terms. We can use these terms to speak fluently to other groups in our project. New project members with critical functional and technical experience can quickly integrate and impact our team. And of course, quicker documentation references with PeopleBooks and My Oracle support if we're using the same terms Oracle is using. Now, before we start, I want to explain a metaphor I'm going to use throughout this video to help explain PeopleSoft organization and security, things and containers. Think of water. Water is a thing. We need a container to use water. A water bottle is a container. We can put that water bottle in another container, a container of containers. A pack of water bottles is a container of containers. This idea of things and containers is recurring all throughout the PeopleSoft Insights architecture. PeopleSoft terms. Page. A page is a thing. A page has fields and controls, and this is where we do our work and see data in PeopleSoft. Component. A component is a container. It contains one or more pages. You can't see a page unless it's in a component. A component controls data security to the page. Homepage. A homepage is a container. It's a basic menu system. It controls one or more tiles to allow quick navigation to some PeopleSoft functionality. Tile. A tile is a container. A tile is a fancy PeopleSoft link to something. A navigation collection, a component, another homepage, an insights dashboard, or something else. Navigation collection. A navigation collection is a container of links. There's a navigation panel on the left, which is just a list of links. Folders organize the links. The main panel on the right displays the target content. Now let's review insights terms. First, let's come to a common understanding. Insights is Kibana, OpenSearch is Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch and Kibana used to be open source. Attorneys and accountants got involved and changed the license structure somewhere around 2021. AWS forked the last open source version of these and rebranded them as OpenSearch and Insights. This forked, still open source version is what is integrated into the PeopleSoft architecture. For our purposes, it's the same as Elasticsearch and Kibana, just rebranded. OpenSearch. OpenSearch is an architecture specifically designed for search. It was previously known as Elasticsearch. This is the search engine backend for PeopleSoft Global Search and Insights dashboards. It's a separate architecture from PeopleSoft, but it is a component of the delivered PeopleSoft application. PeopleSoft and OpenSearch communicate through APIs. Insights. Insights is a data visualization tool built on OpenSearch. It was previously known as Kibana. Insights provides tools to build, organize, and present data visualizations. Dataset. Dataset is a thing. It contains actual data for the analysis. It's defined by a PeopleSoft search definition and controls the selection and security of the data. A document is one row of data. Security options for that are none, role, and document. Document security is effectively the same as PeopleSoft row-level security. The data is generated in PeopleSoft and sent to OpenSearch as flattened indexed data. Visualization. A visualization is a thing. A visualization takes your data and turns it into a picture such as a chart or graph showing patterns and trends. A visualization uses a single data set as a source. Examples include pie, bar, line, data grid, and a lot more. Dashboard. A dashboard is a container. It contains one or more visualizations. The dashboard allows us to organize and present the visualizations. This is the lowest level insights object seen by PeopleSoft. Any filter applied to the dashboard is applied to all visualizations on that dashboard, and this can be a good thing or a bad thing. PeopleSoft Navigation Collections and Insights Dashboards. A navigation collection is a container. A navigation can contain links to Insights dashboards. Dashboard selection on the left panel, target dashboards display on the right panel. PeopleSoft Security. Let's talk about navigation security first. Navigation security controls where a user can go in PeopleSoft. Sometimes this is called menu security. This is applied to every container level object. Users do not see menu options they do not have explicit access to. For example, users may be granted access to a home page, but will only see the tiles they are granted access. Similarly, users may see a navigation collection, but will only see the links to the dashboards they have been granted access. Row-level security. Row-level security controls the actual data a user can see on a page. A user will not see or interact with data they do not have access. The row-level security is different in the different PeopleSoft applications. Financials are business unit and ledger related, where HCM is department oriented. An individual user needs both types of security to interact with PeopleSoft. A user may have access to a component but will not see any data due to row-level security. On the other hand, a user may have access to a row of data but does not have the security access to a page showing that information. The user can only see data on a page when they have both navigation security access to a page and row-level security to the data on that page. A real-world example in HCM is where users may have access to a specific employee's data on the job tables. But since they do not have navigation security to the personal and ID component, they can't see that employee's social security number or national ID. Insights is not an integral part of PeopleTools. In fact, they are two separate architectures connected through APIs. Here's a simple diagram illustrating PeopleTools and Insights. Here's a more detailed view for those who think that image is too simple. But for our purposes, this will do. OpenSearch has its own separate servers and processes. OpenSearch ingests data provided by PeopleTools. Insights is an analytic tool using OpenSearch as the engine driving data. An Insights dashboard is really just a registered link inside of PeopleSoft. And of course, PeopleSoft Navigation Security determines if a user can see and use that link. When a user clicks on that link, it opens a window into an Insights session. Insights then verifies through the APIs if this user has a valid PeopleSoft session. So you can email a PeopleSoft Insights link to a friend, but that friend can't see the dashboard unless they're logged into PeopleSoft and have access. PeopleSoft doesn't tell Insights who the user is, but does provide the user's data keys through the API link. Insights opens the requested dashboard and loads the visualization as per the security configuration. If row-level security has been defined for a data set, Insights compares the user's data security keys against every document in that data set. Every document or row of data has a list of security keys granting access to that row. Then, the visualization builds with only the allowed data rows. Again, Insights has no idea who the current user from PeopleSoft is, only that user's data access keys passed by PeopleSoft. Dashboards and visualizations are not controlled by security, but the data displayed is. So it's entirely possible that a user will see a dashboard with empty visualizations if that user does not have access to any rows in the dataset. However, if all security levels are satisfied, the user sees a dashboard populated with data. Insight security. A data set is generated in PeopleSoft and ingested by OpenSearch for use in Insights. Row-level security is determined at the time of data generation in PeopleSoft. Each row of data in the dataset is called a document. Each document has a list of access keys granting access to that document. These datasets are stored in OpenSearch. All data selection, sorting, and filtering is done on the OpenSearch servers. This is very fast since the OpenSearch architecture is built for search. This relieves the load from the PeopleSoft servers. PeopleSoft architecture is built for transaction processing, not search and analytics. However, this means that the data in your dashboards is only as accurate as the last time the data was refreshed from PeopleSoft. If something happens to PeopleSoft, Insights doesn't know about it until PeopleSoft sends that change to OpenSearch. How this security impacts the analytics. Everything in Insights is controlled by the security scheme defined by PeopleSoft. If document level security is configured, then functions like min, max, and count only work on the documents allowed through row level security. A row count only returns the count of documents granted through the security, not a true count of rows in the dataset. The latest date or time value is the latest in the accessible documents, not necessarily the latest date or time in the dataset. If there's a later date or time in the document not granted that user will not see that later value in the visualizations. Now we have a common set of terms and a basic understanding of how PeopleSoft and Insights work together. Hopefully, this will enable better, faster conversations amongst your team, delivering better Insights analytics to your users faster. Our next video in this series is about how to build the PeopleSoft queries to extract data for your dashboards. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to our channel, and we'll see you next time here on PeopleTools Tech Tips.